Smith on Lease back with you. And, of course, a thank you to all the subscribers for all the support over our first 3 months of the podcast here. And, of course, our great sponsor, MTS Transportation, for all your freight shipping and trucking needs. And we did a part 1 not too long ago with the great John Ireland. Boy, and I think I've known John about 30 years now. I was the Danger Boy with Mason and Ireland back in the day. And
man, are we old.
We're getting up there, John Ireland. Thanks for joining us for a part 2 here. So if you can push the walker out of the way and manage to get up, get into your chair, we can do a part 2.
It's funny, Dave. Back when you and I started, there were a bunch of guys who were working behind the scenes, and now they're all like frontline starters, guys like Dave Vassay and Tim Cates. And yeah. I'm just really, really proud of those guys. Really happy for them that most people who were with us back early in the day are now kind of killing it.
Vassay was on my show last week on the podcast here, so we had a great time with him.
He's doing great.
He was the producer of the Ben and Dave show back in the day. We used to torment and abuse him. So he came on and started ripping me right away. I hadn't talked to him in 10 years. Right away, he started with the criticism when I put him on the show here. It was fantastic.
Well, he worked. He was Big Joe McDonald's guy for those years. So he's got a lot of criticism in him just by working with Joe.
Now, before I get to my top 10 lists here with the Lakers, John, now you said that the highlight of your career was the Kobe 81-point game against the Toronto Raptors, and that's even more than when the Lakers won the championship in 2020 in the bubble down there in Florida. You said the Kobe 81 game is your highlight.
My favorite game that I've ever called, Dave, because it was so unexpected. He was in the beginning of that game. And by the way, one of our listeners, a guy named Kevin Smets, who's a great guy, works in the movie business, does graphics and videos and all that other stuff. So Kevin took the fourth quarter of Mychal and I's call of that game and matched it up to video, and it's on YouTube. If you just type in, Kobe final game, John Ireland, Mychal Thompson, it'll come up. And the disbelief in our voices, Dave, as that thing continued to roll on, is staggering. In the beginning, I think he missed his first 5 shots. And during one of the commercials, I said to Mychal, man, I hope he gets 30. I hope, this is his final game. He's averaged 30 points a game for his career. I hope he gets 30. And then he just got hot. And I go, well, maybe he'll get 40. Zooms past 40. He's not getting 50. And then when he gets to 60, we're just coming out of our shoes. And it was as much fun doing a game as I've ever had.
And I was out driving that night, listening to you and Mychal on the radio. You guys did a fantastic job, not doing a lot of screaming and yelling and not, kind of over-dramatizing the moment. You kind of let the moment speak for itself. We got a lot of crowd noise, and you could tell you guys were incredulous, but you did a fantastic job announcing that night.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. I always say if you ask me for a time capsule, something that they're going to open in 200 years, of one game that I ever did, that's the one I'd put in the time capsule just so people could see it and hear it.
What do you think's the greatest Lakers team of all times? I remember when I was a little kid, the first team I remember was the 72 Lakers that won 33 straight and went 69-13. That to this day, that's my favorite Lakers team. But people say the 87 team and the 85 team that finally broke through against the Boston Celtics. But to me, the best Lakers team I've ever seen was in 1982. I know James Worthy wasn't there yet, but Jamal Wilkes he was an all-star and a great player. You still had a young Kareem, early 20s Magic. You had Norm Nixon still there, who was one of the best players in the NBA, and McAdoo coming off the bench. I think the 82 team is the best Lakers team I've ever seen.
The only team you left out is the 2001 team. The 2001 team won, I think they won 16 of their last 17 games. And then in the playoffs, they went 15-1. And the one was that Allen Iverson game where he couldn't miss.
Yes.
Where he scored 48 points and stepped over Ty Lue.
Yeah.
That was the only blemish. But that team, that was Shaq and Kobe in their prime.
Yes.
So I would rank that team number 1.
Wow, really? Over the Showtime teams, huh?
Yeah, because I don't think you could have stopped Kobe and Shaq.
Okay.
The 72 team, I would rank number 2. The one with, Elgin Baylor was on that team at the start of the year.
Just for 6 games.
And then he retired.
Yep.
But Jerry West and Gail Goodrich as your backcourt, and then a front line of Happy Harrison, Jim McMillan, and Wilt is pretty unbeatable. And that was the 69-win team. I think the 2001 team won 67 games. But they were really, really, that was the best Phil Jackson team, the 2001 team. The 72 team was Bill Sharman's best team. And the 87 team you're talking about was Pat Riley's best team. So I wouldn't fault you if you put any of those three at the top.
Yep.
But in any order you want to put them, that's the top three.
Yeah, it's funny. People, I know you and I have talked about this before, John. People talk about, in the NBA, I always put out those lists of most career triple doubles. And they've got, I think Russell Westbrook is the all-time leader. He's got, 300 or 400 or whatever it is, and he's the all-time NBA leader. And I always laugh when I hear that. I said, I guarantee you Wilt has 1,000 at least. They didn't count blocks back in the day. Wilt used to get 10 blocks in a quarter back in the day. I guarantee you if they kept blocks back then, Wilt has at least 1,000 triple doubles.
And maybe more. I mean, he was Dave, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, Wilt has so many stunning statistics.
Yes.
Here's one. 1 year, he averaged 48.1 minutes per game.
That's right.
So he played every minute of every regular season game and every overtime, which is where you get the 0.1. And, Dave, he never fouled out. Not once.
Amazing.
And he was the most dominant player on the court.
And
just an absolutely staggering career statistically.
Harvey Pollack, the famous statistician with the 76ers back in the day, he used to track block shots and stuff that the NBA didn't track back in the day. He'd do it himself, and he said Wilt had a quintuple-double in 1968. Block shots,
I don't doubt it.
Points, rebounds, steals, and assists, and he had a quintuple-double.
And as you know, Dave, that's not even his most impressive statistic, if you know what I mean.
Wilt admitted, but before he died, he added a zero to that 20,000, that he was exaggerating.
Yeah, I would think he had to. I did the math once, and he would have had to sleep with, from the time he was 16 to hit that number, he would have had to sleep with 3 women a day every day. I don't think he did. He was prophetic, but I don't think he was that good.
I had Doug Krikorian on the show a couple of weeks ago, who was the Lakers beat writer back then in the late 60s and covered Wilt. And he said,
greatest.
He said, Wilt is a liar. He said, I can't tell you how many times we'd be in his room playing cards all night. And he also said, in all my years, Wilt is the worst guy at picking up and hustling women I've ever seen. He was incompetent. The whole thing was a lie.
Right. Well, I had a group of friends at UCLA, girls, that were all really good looking, and they would all go out together. And one night they're all at Gladstone's. There's about 10 of them. And Wilt's sitting at the bar. And the waiter comes over to my friend Tracy, who was kind of in charge of the 10 girls, and says, your tab has been covered. And she goes, well, we haven't paid yet. She goes, no, Mr. Chamberlain at the bar picked up the tab for the whole table. She goes, really? And Wilt walks over. He goes, I just thought you guys were all having a good time, and I wanted to do something nice, so I got your dinner. And he sits down, and sure enough, one of the 10 went home with him. And I thought, there you go. Man, he's probably run that play 1,000 times. And you only need one, Dave, one of the 10, and he did it. He pulled it off.
You ever heard that story Larry Brown told about Wilt in the UCLA men's gym with the pickup games over the summertime? He tells a great story, John, where he said Wilt was 43 years old, and Larry said, I just started at UCLA. I was sitting up in the bleachers, and I used to watch the pickup games, and Wilt was playing with 4 of my freshmen. That must have been like the Michael Holton, Rod Foster era. And he said he was playing with 4 of my freshmen. And on the other side, and he said Magic used to always stack the team so he could keep the court the whole day. It was Magic Johnson and Bernard King and Byron Scott and Dominique Wilkins. He said he had an all-star team out there. So Magic goes up for a hook shot. Wilt blocks it. Magic says, game, goaltending, and grabs the ball and walks away. And Wilt looks up at Larry Brown and says, Coach, was that goaltending? He said, no, Wilt, that was a clean block. So then Wilt grabs the ball and he says, okay, we're going to play another game to 11 right now, and there will be no baskets made right here behind me. And Larry Brown said he blocked, 43 years old, he blocked every single shot in his team. He said, I've never seen anything. He must have blocked 15 shots in a row from the best players in the NBA.
Well, you remember that there was an ABA team called the San Diego Conquistadors.
He was the player coach.
Right. And he would play beach volleyball all day and then show up with like sand all over his body and play the entire game. Like he'd show up 10 minutes before the game, didn't even warm up, play the entire game. He was truly one of a kind. Roy Firestone told me a great story once. He said he's at a party and he goes over in the corner and Wilt is standing there with a mink coat and a big fedora with an orange feather sticking out the back of the fedora and these huge sunglasses on. And Roy walks over to him and goes, well, how come you've never done my show? up close. I'd really like to get you on the show." And he leans over to Roy with a serious look on his face and goes, "Roy, I know it doesn't always seem like it, but I like to keep a low profile." He's wearing a mink coat with an orange feather in his hat. And eventually Roy got him, and he came and did the show, so it all worked out.
I was out at a club one night, and you probably know her, John. I met a young lady. She was really short, kind of cute and short, and she was a former volleyball player named Linda Huey. And remember, she was Wilt's longtime girlfriend, on and off.
Right. Well, you know what she does now, Dave?
What does she do now?
She is the foremost authority in water therapy.
Wow.
So if you need a hip replacement, if you need a knee replacement, if you need anything, Dr. Robert Clapper, who does the Weekend Warrior show on our station, Dr. Clapper, believe it or not, even though he makes money off it, hates to send people to surgery. He says surgery should be a last resort. So he will send people to Linda, and she'll take them through a whole water therapy session for 6 weeks and see if she can get their hips right, their knees right. And if she can't do it, then he'll operate. But most of the time he doesn't have to because of her.
Well, is that in L.A., her practice, or water therapy? Wow.
Santa Monica.
Wow.
Yeah, Google it. Yeah, if you ever met her, she's your girl.
Well, I was out at a club one night. Some friends of mine and a bunch of girls, we were all chatting and talking. And then she says to me, this was during the 92 Olympics in Barcelona. And, Wilt's first love was track and field. It wasn't basketball. He loved track and field. So she said, "Yeah, come up to the house, Wilt, and we're having parties every night when Wilt watches the Olympics. He loves it." So that was my first time. I got into the palace there, the triangles, the roof in the bedroom that opened up overhead, the shag carpet up to your ankles, the pool on the inside. What a magnificent house that was. I was so lucky I get to go inside there.
I think Jimmy Goldstein owns that house now. Do you know him? The guy who sits courtside at all the NBA games?
The guy with a hat and the long gray hair that sits in the front row at every game. Yes, he has a house in the Hollywood Hills, too. I was at his house one night, too.
Yeah, he likes to throw parties.
Yes, he does. He owns that house. Oh, I thought the guy that created The Simpsons owned that house. So Jimmy owns it, huh?
Yeah, I think so. Last time I talked to him, he did. He may have sold it, but I'm not sure.
Well, he's lived a wild life. Jimmy's a real piece of work. I had him on the show a couple of times. I always loved that guy.
Yeah, he's nuts. In a good way. He's fun to talk to.
I want to know what you think of my lists. About 3 weeks ago, I did my top 10 Lakers players of all time, and then my top 10 Lakers people, players, coaches, whatever. So we'll start from the bottom here, Joe. What do you think? I got number 10, and LeBron's not on it because I don't like to put players who are currently active on the list here. So I kept LeBron off.
Okay.
I got Gail Goodrich at 10 as the all-time great Lakers.
Yep, great player.
Michael Cooper at 9. Mychal Thompson he always says the Coop was as important as anybody on those championship Showtime Lakers teams. A very high opinion of it.
So do Magic and Byron. Magic and Byron will tell you, if you ever get them on your show, they'll say they don't win any of those 5 championships without Coop.
Agreed.
They think he was invaluable to that team.
Goodrich and Coop. Number 8, this might be a little low, but I got Elgin at number 8 because the one championship he only played 6 games in LA, but he should probably be higher.
Yeah, you should be. You're too low there. But go ahead. But keep going.
Number 7, James Worthy, and because he played with Magic and Kareem all those years, maybe one of the most underrated superstars in NBA history. On any other team, he's got statues and ceremonies and be called one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, that's my guy. I'm pretty good friends with him. We play a lot of golf together, and so I would have him higher, but I'm glad he's on the list. Who's number 6?
Shaq. I got Shaq. And I know he's got the 3 championships, but
what?
I always hold it against Shaq because he was never in good enough physical condition. He should have won more than 3. He should have won more than 4 in his career. If he took his conditioning seriously, if he got into better shape, he could have been a lot better. So I deduct points because he was normally out of shape when he played.
Okay. So now I'm really curious who your top 5 is.
Well, number 5, I got Wilt. I know he only played 5 years with the Lakers and he only had 1 championship, but he was such a dominant force on both ends of the floor. So
you cannot put Wilt ahead of Shaq.
Well,
as much as you and I love Wilt, Shaq was way more dominant as a Laker than Wilt was. Way more.
But I put it there because I think Wilt was a better player than Shaq.
Okay.
That's why I put him ahead
in his prime. In his prime, yes, but as a Laker, no.
Okay,
who's number 4?
You'd flip that, Wilt. Okay, number 4, the logo Jerry West. What can you say? We haven't even gotten into the front office work yet, but as a player, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a logo and one of the great players in NBA history. And how important was he to the Lakers when they moved out here from Minneapolis when he was a rookie in 1960?
I would have him at number 2. So now I'm curious who your top 3 is.
Kobe 3, 5 championships, Hall of Fame, one of the top 10 players in NBA history. The 60-point game, the statue out front. I got Kobe at 3.
Okay. Who's 2?
Well, somebody probably near and dear to you was a fellow UCLA guy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What did he have? 6 MVPs, 5 championships with the Lakers. They don't win any of those 5 in the 80s without him. And you could say the same about Magic and the same about Coop and the same about any of these guys. But Kareem, he's the greatest high school player. He's the greatest college player of all time. And you can make a case that he's the greatest NBA player of all time. I mean, who can you say that about?
Right. And then Magic's 1?
Magic's number 1, I think. And people argue with me about this, John. In my book, Magic's the greatest player in NBA history. Yes, even ahead of Michael Jordan. He's the best player I've ever seen when he was at his best.
Mychal Thompson claims that Magic Johnson is the best leader in the history of team sports.
Yeah.
Said that he would do whatever it took to win games. So if he needed to have 35 assists, he would do it. If he needed to score 50 points, he would do it. If he wanted to get 30 rebounds, he would do it. All that he cared about was winning. So I also would have Magic 1. But now, wait a minute. You're just talking about players. Then.
No,
okay.
My next list is
let me amend it. I agree with you. I would do Magic 1, Kobe 2, Kareem 3,
and then West.
And then West 4. But the reason I said I would have West at 2 is I was considering all the things he did after he got done playing.
Well, that's the next list.
But that's a different list,
yes.
Right? All right. So I don't have a ton of problems with your list. I often say, Dave, that if you gave me everybody who ever played for the Lakers and I gave you every other team and anyone who ever played for them, I could give you a 7-game series and probably win it. Because think about it. My guards would be Kobe and Magic, and I would have a front line of Elgin, LeBron, and Kareem. Who's beating that team? I have Anthony Davis and James Worthy coming off the bench.
How about that, huh?
Yeah.
How about Wilt, another bench player?
Would be crazy. All right, so let me hear your other list.
Well, you would have issue. Elgin's too low at number 8, and you would switch out Wilt and Shaq if you made the list.
Yeah, but other than that, I like it.
Okay. Now, most important, now this is players, non-player, and I kind of put the players on the bottom part of it here before I get to the most important Lakers. I got 10 Kobe. I mean, how can you eliminate the relevance and the importance of him as a Los Angeles Laker? I got him 10, Kareem 9, Magic Johnson 8, and I think that's the end of my players on the list here. So Kobe, Kareem, Magic 10, 9, and 8. Now number 7 here. This is kind of a surprise. People were surprised at this one, John, and a lot of people have never heard of him. I've got Bob Short at number 7. He moved the Lakers out here from Minneapolis. What's more important than that to Los Angeles?
Yeah,
Lakers
I would probably put him behind the players, but I have no problem with him being on the list. Who's 6?
Well, I think you're going to take issue with this, John, and a lot of people do. I got the great Chick Hearn at 6. You could make him number 1.
That is an outrage.
Yeah, I know. I might have to redo this, but
I'm very biased. But Chick's in the top 3 and maybe number 1.
Absolutely.
For me. But okay, you got him at 6. So let me hear your top 5.
Number 5, I got Pat Riley. Taking over when Jack McKinney fell off the bicycle, and he won 4 championships in the 80s and turned out to be one of the great coaches of all time in the NBA. Won another couple with the Miami Heat, took the Knicks to the finals, and that whole Showtime era with Pat Riley on the sidelines with the hair slicked back, and the Lakers became a worldwide brand during that era.
If Riles was on this call with us, he would tell you that you can't put him in front of Chick. He would tell you that.
I think I need to redo this.
He said that Chick was the most instrumental person in him getting a job at the Lakers, first as Chick's color guy, and then as a coach. So he would rank Chick ahead of himself. All right, let's hear your top 5.
Chick told me a great story once. After Riley retired, before he got into coaching, he was selling this product, this additive that you put into your gas tank. He was a door-to-door salesman. And he said he'd knock on doors, and so he knocked on Chick's door one day and said, "Chick, I'm telling you, this stuff was awesome. You pour it into your gas tank, you'll get an extra 5 miles per gallon. You won't believe the money you save." So Chick said he bought the stuff from him, he put it in his car, and it never ran the same after that. He had to get a new car. It ruined it.
He got hoodwinked by Riley.
He got hoodwinked by Riley. Was always a great salesman, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's funny.
Number 4. 11 championships, 5 with the Lakers. And I make the case all the time for Phil Jackson, John. I don't think the Lakers win any of those championships, 2001, 2002, if he's not the coach. And you can make a case. They had more talent and they had a better team under Del Harris before he got there. I mean, they still had, who did they have? They had Nick Van Exel and they had Eddie Jones. I think they had more talent and a younger Kobe and a younger Shaq. But I think Phil was the difference, taking them from contenders to a championship team when he took over.
The interesting thing about Phil is I don't understand the argument that he's not the greatest coach in NBA history. If you compare him statistically to Red Auerbach, Greg Popovich, Pat Riley, anybody, if we were living on the moon, Dave, and you put those 4 resumes in front of us, Phil gets picked every time.
Absolutely.
He's actually underrated in the public eye for how great of a coach he was. Greatest coach in the history of the NBA.
And I would, this is not going to be popular with Lakers fans. I would put Red Auerbach number 1 when it comes to, most important, when you combine front office acumen with coaching combined, there's never been anyone as good as Red. The trades that he made, the moves that he made to build those Celtics teams combined with, winning 10 championships or 9 championships as a coach. I think he has to be number 1 as most important figure when you combine everything he did for that franchise.
Did you watch Celtic City on HBO?
Yes.
So good. They did such a great job. My favorite, of course, is episode 5, F the Celtics, because James Worthy comes right out and says F the Celtics at the start of the thing. It was great. So we got so Phil's 4?
Phil's 4. We got Kobe, Kareem, Magic, Bob Short, Chick, Pat Riley, Phil at 4. Now, number 3, another one you can make a case for number 1 with all he did for the franchise, Dr. Jerry Buss.
I thought he was going to be number 1, but okay.
Not quite, but bought the team in 1979 and immediately turned them around, brought in the Lakers girls, brought in the Showtime element, brought fun to the Forum for the Lakers games. And you could make a case that he's the greatest owner in the history of sports, not just the Lakers, not just the NBA.
Yeah, Michael makes that argument all the time, Mychal Thompson, and I could have me back, Dave, and we should get Krikorian involved, and we should do a whole show on Dr. Buss. He does not get the credit he deserves for everything that's happening in the NBA. I'll give you just a couple of examples. When he first took over the Lakers, he said, "I'm going to put seats on the court." And the league said, "You can't do that. That's a safety hazard. You cannot put chairs on the side of the court. The players will be running into them and we'll have lawsuits." "No, Jerry, absolutely not." He goes, "I'm doing it anyway." And now every team in the league has courtside seats that they charge a fortune for. He said, "I'm going to put dancing girls on the court during timeouts." And they said, "That's embarrassing. You can't do that. We're a professional league. That's demeaning and nobody will like it." Now every team has a dance team. And he did that all the time. He would come up with ideas. They would tell him no. He would say, "I'm doing it anyway." And that's just 2 of about 10 examples of things that have happened in the NBA, all because of him. I argue, Dave, Pat Riley's getting a statue this year. I think the next statue should be Dr. Buss, and the one after that should be James Worthy. And I feel pretty strongly about it. Now that the Lakers have been sold, I think Jeannie was hesitant to do it because she thought it was self-aggrandizing to give her dad a statue. I disagreed with her, and I told her that. But now that they've been sold, I think Mark Walter could endear himself to Laker fans forever if one of his first acts is to put in a statue of Dr. Buss right in front of Star Plaza with all the other guys, because he has as much to do with the Lakers' success as anybody.
Absolutely.
All right, so he's 3. Who's 2?
Here's number 2. And this is something that sticks in my craw, something I've been angry and ticked off about for years and years, why he doesn't get more credit with how important he was with the Los Angeles Lakers. Bill Sharman. Bill Sharman should have I don't know why he doesn't have a banner up there. He's in the Hall of Fame as a player and a coach. I don't know why he doesn't have a statue out in front. He brought us our first Los Angeles World Championship in 1972. And contrary to popular opinion, Jerry West did not build the Showtime Lakers. Bill Sharman was the general manager who made the trade for Kareem, who made the deal to get Magic as a free agent with Gail Goodrich going to New Orleans. And he made the deal trading Don Ford to Cleveland for James Worthy, a future pick. Bill Sharman built the Showtime Lakers. Why does he not have a banner? Why does he not have a statue? He brought us our first championship. I used to have Jeannie in studio once a week and do a show with her. I used to ask her this question all the time, and everybody from the Lakers, I asked this, they kind of tapped, they don't want to really give me an answer. And it's something I don't know, John, because he is the nicest man maybe I've ever met in professional sports, Bill Sherman.
There is nothing you don't know. He is beloved in the Laker offices, and his widow, Joyce Sherman, comes to 4 or 5 games a year. I MC a lot of things for Joyce. Mm-hmm. And she's the one person that, if Joyce ever asks us to do anything, if she asked me, she asked Worthy, when Kobe was alive, when she asked Kobe. I remember one time she was honored because she does a lot of charity work. She was honored by this group called ShareFest, which is a collection of churches in Southern California that goes and does good deeds for people. And Joyce had given him a bunch of money and had done a bunch of things for him. So the guy who runs ShareFest said, hey, can you get a video of people saying nice things about Joyce Sharman? And Dave, it was like I had the key to the city. Like Kobe was running out, and one day he goes, I don't got time, I'm leaving. I go, I need you 30 seconds on Joyce Sharman. He dropped what he was doing, turns around, and goes, I'll give you all the time you need. Wow. Same thing with Worthy, same thing with Kareem. I mean, Bill is beloved. It's weird that you think he doesn't get enough credit.
Why doesn't he have a banner?
In the Laker offices, Bill is considered royalty. So yeah, that's a good question. I wonder if there would be a way to recognize him with either a banner or a statue. Because fun fact about Bill Sharman, Dave, was an excellent baseball player. Was in the dugout when Bobby Thompson hit the shot heard around the world. He was a role player, didn't get in the game, but he was in the dugout when that happened. Well, and you're right, one of the nicest guys you would ever meet.
And he said, they said for years, Coop's not up there because they have a rule you have to be in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Hall of Fame as a player and a coach. What's taking him so long with Sharman?
Well, because he was as a player, and his number is retired in Boston.
Yes.
He didn't play for the Lakers, but yeah, you're right. There should be a way. And by the way, no one would fight you on this. If you ran into Jeannie and you said, hey, let's do something nice for Bill Sharman, she would say, okay, how can I help? He's beloved. Trust me, everybody loves him. Everybody loves Joyce. You won't hear a bad word about Bill Sharman in anywhere in the Laker office.
And nothing against Jerry West and his greatness, but I read all the time when they talk about the Lakers and West, well, he built the Showtime. No, he didn't. He didn't become the general manager till 82. Bill Sharman built the Showtime Lakers. He never gets any credit.
Right. Well, Jerry was on was making a lot of decisions and consulting with Bill back then. But so he did have a role. But if you're trying to get me to say nice things about Bill Sharman, I'll stay with you for 2 hours. He's one of the great guys of all time.
What a great guy. Okay. I'll give you one guess at who's number one.
Well, this is where I thought you should have had Jerry West higher when I didn't know you were doing players. But absolutely one of a kind. One of the great guys of all time. And I have so many great Jerry West stories that, and by the way, if you talk about a guy who is beloved by everybody that played for him, like, Mychal, Coop, Worthy, Magic, all those guys swear by Jerry West. Maybe the greatest sports executive ever. Yeah, I like your list. I would switch a couple of guys around, but I think those are both good lists.
And it's just a shame that Jerry and Phil couldn't work together, and that Phil kind of despised Jerry, and that they couldn't make it work, and Jerry had to leave. That I think that was the one thing that kind of left a bitter taste in my mouth. Jerry West should have retired a Laker in the organization.
Yeah, and then at the very end it got bad, but things like that happen, and I was glad that Jerry was recognized around the league and kept getting paid to be a consultant long after he had left the Lakers. The Warriors gave him a bunch of money. The Clippers gave him a bunch of money. Remember, the Grizzlies gave him a bunch of money. So I was glad that all his hard work was rewarded in the end.
And there's kind of a similar story, which remember in 86, Dr. Jerry Buss, I think, was in favor of trading James Worthy for Roy Tarpley and Mark Aguirre. And
I can tell you that whole story.
Pat Riley and Jerry West went into Dr. Buss's office and threatened to quit. And then in Golden State, they wanted to trade Clay for Kevin Love, and Jerry West walked in and threatened to quit. But the owner said, "Go ahead, John."
Well, no, those were the two stories I was going to tell you. And Jerry Buss basically executed that trade in a poker game with Donald Carter, saying how much of a fan he was of Roy Tarpley's and how he loved Mark Aguirre. And Carter said, well, I really love James Worthy. And he said, well, how about we trade those guys? And when he called Jerry threw himself in the grenade and stopped it. And then obviously I'm close to the Thompsons.
Yes.
And Joe Lacob, who's pretty bullheaded, wanted to trade for Kevin Love and was going to give him Clay.
No way.
And Steve Kerr couldn't talk him out of it. Bob Myers couldn't talk him out of it. And Jerry was the one who did. So yeah, Jerry was a visionary and a genius, just a genius.
I got a funny story to tell you before we leave here, John.
Sure.
Back in the 80s, my buddies and I, when we were real young, we were all beach bums hanging out in Santa Monica. And we always used to play pickup basketball at the Santa Monica YMCA, like around noon ball after we went to the beach in the morning. So we're standing around when they were playing. And I noticed there was this older black gentleman. He had gray hair and a gray beard. And he was kind of warming up and shooting. And I didn't know this, but my friends all knew him, and they were setting me up to get embarrassed, John. So we're lining up to start the game. And they said, hey, you guard the old guy. You guard here. You can take it easy here. You guard the old guy. So he gets about a 30-footer high arcing shot, swish, like 4 or 5 in a row. And then every time he got the ball, he scored. And then he ended the game by getting a steal. He must have been in his 50s, driving the length of the court and dunking to end the game. So I said, who the hell was that? So I introduced myself to him at the drinking fountain after the game. I said, my name is Dave Smith. What's your name? You know what he said, John? My name is Flynn Robinson.
Wow.
And I said, oh, my God.
Yeah.
Behind the ear, 30-foot rainbows, one after another.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah, some of those guys can still play. Like Mychal Thompson says he hasn't picked up a basketball in 15 years. But I was playing a pickup game one night, and Ronnie Lester walked in and just schooled everybody when he was probably 45.
Magic Johnson told me one time Ronnie Lester's the greatest player who's ever come out of Chicago, and we never saw the real him because he ripped his knee up when he was at Iowa. We never saw the real Ronnie Lester, how great he was.
Yeah, great guy, too.
Wow. Well, time just flew by here, John. We got to do this again soon. There's probably a million other things we can talk about.
Anytime, Dave. I'm glad for your success, and it sounds like you're having fun with the pod, so anytime I can help, just let me know.
Okay, thanks. There he goes, the great John Ireland. That's the end of part 2, and thanks again, of course, to our great sponsor, MTS Transportation. Thanks to all the subscribers. Give us a subscribe, a like, and a comment on the YouTube page, and we'll talk to you next time on Dave Smith Unleashed. Dave Smith Unleashed, brought to you by MTS Transportations. And mention the Dave Smith Unleashed podcast and get 20% off on your next shipment for all your shipping, trucking, and freight needs. There's only one business to call, and that's MTS Transportations at 800-640-6873. MTS Transportations, 800-640-6873.